The 5th generation was flooded with great 3D platformers. Mario 64, Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider, Banjo. I could sit here all day naming great games from this time, but one game that doesn't get mentioned as much is Pac-Man World. Now, as a kid, I knew about Pacman World 2 and 3, but the first game somehow slipped past me. It's crazy because this game sold so well that it actually hit PlayStation's greatest hits, which is a lineup of games that sold over 250,000 copies. With numbers like that, it's kind of weird that Pacman World isn't just mentioned more often. You would think with so many sold, people would know about it as much, but it's almost treated like it's a hidden gem. But that doesn't matter anymore because Pac-Man is making a comeback. Namco has dropped both Pac-Man World 1 and 2 for anyone that missed them or that wants to play these games again. Pac-Man World 2 Re-PAC just dropped and that's on the to-do list. But I gotta play the game that started it all. Not you. We all know enough about you. Pac-Man World originally launched on his 20th anniversary, so it only makes sense that the game begins at the preparation of our hero's birthday. Pac-Man's friends and family are setting everything up for the celebration, only for the ghosts to come and snatch everyone away. They even took the baby. Pac-Man heads to Ghost Island to rescue his loved ones, but the imposter TOC-MAN, the mastermind behind this attack, wants him gone. You must explore the island, save your friends, and stop this Pac-Man wannabe. To save his friends, Pac-Man will cross 6 areas, all with the most random assortment of themes. The Ruin and Pirate area are pretty typical for a platformer. The Pirate area fulfills this game's tropical level quota, while the Ruins tap into that sand/Egyptian theme that you see in most platformers. It almost reminds me of Tomb Raider or Crash Bandicoot. While Space and Factory are self-explanatory, Funhouse and the lazily named Boss area are a bit out of the box. Each area ups the difficulty by a great margin, after the Pirate World being the easiest. But I really wish they named them something else. I don't like calling these things areas. I want to call them worlds or zones or something like that. Unlike his arcade roots, Pac-Man can do more than move and chew ghosts. Pac-Man has a nice jump and butt bounce combo, sort of like Scrooge McDuck. A rev roll where he charges up a sprint and then rolls like Sonic. He can throw his iconic Pac dots at baddies, and he can even do a flutter that I didn't even know was in the game till I beat it already. Wait, doesn't Yoshi have that move? It's hilarious how many mechanics Pac-Man jacked from other games. I mean, this is his first platforming game, so maybe he needed to borrow from the greats, just to get by. Wait, this is his first platforming game? It was called Pac-Man Land? Well, I got nothing. I guess our yellow friend here is just a thief. But you know what they say. Good platformers copy, great platformers steal. Pac-Man for the most part feels great to control. He moves at a respectable speed. His jump is good enough to clear most gaps, but if you need an extra bit of height, you can always slam on your butt. I can't complain about much, but there are some flaws with one move. The rev roll is primarily used as a way to move floating platforms. And here, it's fine. Just rev up the tiles and occasionally dodge an attack. Nothing bad about it. It's climbing hills and crossing gaps that brings in the jank. I was stumped by long hills, as sometimes you can climb these by simply just using the rev roll, but a lot of the other times you cannot get up these hills even though it seems like you're doing the right thing. What you're meant to do is rev roll as far as you can, then when you stop, begin to jump and butt bounce the rest of the way up. Now that's great and all if the game ever mentioned that this was even possible to do. The first stage is filled with tutorials. They even talked about that flutter jump that I missed. Whoops. But bouncing up hills? Never mentioned. As for crossing gaps, the footage speaks for itself. I don't know why I kept falling. Sometimes I need to be slightly on the ramp to make it, other times taking a few steps back to help. I really don't know what's going on here. It was never consistent and I had to rely on trial and error until I found the right spot to stand. There were many times I would go flying to my death after a rev roll, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't the one in the wrong. I got the idea that flutter jump that I missed must have been meant for something. Maybe it was meant for the rev roll jump because I beat the whole game without even knowing it was even in here. So there had to be a place for it, right? While you can flutter after one of these, it only works if you jump beforehand, but in most situations, jumping right after a rev roll off of a ramp isn't viable. So the railroad is a bit jank, and the flutter, which barely gives you any verticality, is only usable in rare instances like these disappearing platforms, but like I said, I managed to beat the whole game without even using them. With these platforms, if you just time your jump at the right time, the platform that disappeared previously will come back right when you land, so you'll be fine anyway. There are other moves that didn't get much use, like Pacman's pellet throw and its charge version, but at least they aren't broken. He even gets a metal power-up, sorry Mario 64, and a super butt stomp. You will use your arsenal of attacks to make it through each stage. The levels are short, but jam-packed with bad guys, secret areas, collectibles, and locked gates. For as much as Pacman World copied other games, the way they made these levels is solely unique here, as far as I'm aware. Ever heard of a linear platformer with backtracking? Well, that's what Pacman World mastered in. And as weird as it sounds, for me at least, it worked in its favor. Every stage has a few key collectibles required for 100%. You find fruit hidden in chests or as a reward for beating a challenge. Then take that fruit to the corresponding gate to unlock what's inside. This is done by backtracking 99% of the time. Gamers hate backtracking, and this was a big complaint about the game originally. I get it, as I was shocked and confused as to why I would move forward a few screens just to move right back a few seconds later. That's until I grasped what Namco was going for. Platformers at the time were competing with their cousin, if you will, the collectathon. Pacman World tried fusing the two genres into one. Platformers always had items to collect, but not to the extent of Pacman World. And seeing as the levels are about as long as your average 2D Mario game, the only way to make a game with this many collectibles work is by having the player backtrack. I think this was a low-key stroke of genius because for the first time ever, I played a game with zero negatives when it comes to retracing my steps. I hate backtracking because a lot of times games make it feel like you're just wasting time. Here it takes less than a minute to run back to a locked gate or even find something I missed. You will know that you missed something as most gates will be locked upon finding them, and the game consistently makes the next fruit you find the one that opens that gate. Meaning if I opened a gate ahead of the one that's still locked, it told me I overlooked the key. This goes for the hidden Pac-Man letters scattered around the world too. Most of them are behind gates, but sometimes they put them around the map. If I got a letter out of order, I knew I missed one. Keeping things consistent helps the player keep track of all items. And because the levels are so small, when you miss something, it was actually fun to go back and try to find it because you'll feel like, how did I possibly miss something in levels this tiny? Most of the backtracking is by design, so they will change up the stage on your second trip. And for the times that I missed an item, crossing deadly platforms from a different perspective actually added some challenge that this game could actually use more of. My favorite use of backtracking is on the level down the tubes. You can actually beat this level pretty easily and pretty quickly if you decide not to save your son. But if you do want to save him, you need to swim through a deadly maze and use the metal power-up quickly to break the right chest in order to get the items that you need to progress. For me, this was fun with the right amount of frustration to feel triumphant after I beat it. Despite this being a new genre for Pac-Man, Namco kept everything that made us fall in love with Pac-Man intact. Ghosts roam parts of the stage with different little outfits, and we can't hurt them like usual, but if we found a power pellet, we can eat them. The collectible items are all from the arcade game. Cherries, oranges, apples, this thing. And if you listen closely, the music uses elements from Pac-Man in Namco's past. For this to be Pac-Man's first transition into 3D platforming, this feels like a Pac-Man game through and through, especially comparing it to Mario 64, which honestly felt like a departure from his previous games. It's actually crazy to think about it that way, that Pacman World somehow balanced between the familiar and the new better than Mario did when Pac-Man came from this. And wouldn't you know it, mazes are here too. And they're pretty good. Each maze is unlocked by stepping through the Galaxian door, and the maze is themed after the world you're in, complete with matching booby traps. Some stages you'll find your friends held hostage. It can be tricky to find everything you need to set them free, but it is rewarding. But if you can't be bothered, you could just leave them if you're a horrible person. If you get all the Pacman letters, you'll unlock a bonus stage where you race the clock to get all the collectibles. I like this in concept, but each area only has one bonus stage, so once you learn the trick to beating one of them, the challenge just dies because they're all repeated. Even though the challenge may have died, they are fun to do regardless, and you kind of just have to do them if you get all the Pacman letters. As ridiculous as this sounds, the most butt-clenching moments of Pac-Man didn't come from some risky jump or a tough bad guy, but the end-level slot machine. I'm not a gambling man, but if playing the slots worked this way in real life, I might get addicted. You collect Pac coins around the stage, which add to your number total of pulls. The fun and challenge comes from going after the Galaxian, which is needed for the Platinum Trophy, and you get a bonus 3 lives. There is a trick where you can count the icons to know when to stop the wheel, but after learning that, you still have to actually do it, and it damn sure ain't easy. Now, there is a secret way to guarantee you hit, but when you get it legit, it's so satisfying. The game is really something special, but that doesn't make it flawless. Pac-Man could use a reticle below his feet so you can see where you're landing. His shadow in the original game was a dark circle, but the remake makes it a lighter, realistic shadow that actually looks like him. That's cool from an artistic standpoint, but it worsens the gameplay. The stages are these compact, boxy little things that go from left to right most of the time, but there are times where you can go from the foreground or the background. Now, this opens the player's mind to thinking that you can jump over certain corners and gaps, which actually works sometimes. But other times, you get hit by an invisible wall. And not only is this weird, but the collision can actually get in the way when it looks like you're in the clear. Getting hit by an enemy is a jarring, hard stop to all momentum. He doesn't even get bounced back or gain invincibility frames to phase through his enemies, which is what most platformers do. And if you get hit in the air, you're crashing straight down, my friend. As much as I love the mazes, they do take you out of the game, which can be an odd juxtaposition. They could have let you play them after the level was beaten, but to be fair, that would have broken the collecting system as it exists now, so whatever. Also, the default camera sucks in these mazes. Please use a zoomed out one unless you want to run around blind. And to nitpick a little bit more, the space mazes have these weird, loud, obnoxious sounds that threw off all the vibes because this game has great music and these things are just distracting. Listen to this. The game screwing with your perception is also an issue. The factory has this circling platform section that you can clearly see there's a reachable part in, and I thought I could get to it somehow by jumping around, but you can't. I ran all around until I gave up, only to realize what you were supposed to do is actually go a few steps further past this to then unlock a scripted backtracking segment. So I died a bunch of times for basically nothing. And overall, the railroad just sucks out of running on floating platforms. Did you know that you can actually kill enemies with this? But why would you when you could just butt bounce on them? The one thing I hadn't touched on is the difficulty. And that's because it's in an odd spot. Pacman World is an easy game, and one thing I can't stand is an easy platformer. My annoyance with platformers today is the lack of challenge, and Pacman World being from arguably the best generation of 3D platformers, dance between being fair and fun rather than easy and boring. Now the game is a bit too generous with all the extra lives you get. By the halfway point of the game, I had 100+ lives. They put these things all around the stages. You even get more lives if you hit the slot machine. It's unlikely that you will see a game over screen, but you will die a fair bit after the pirate levels. I do wish they removed some of the handicaps from the game, like the invisible walls preventing you from falling off the platforms. Just imagine if a game like Crash Bandicoot had invisible walls on a stage like this. That extra bit of challenge of asking the player to simply stay on a platform was actually missed in Pacman World, and the game could have used more of it, honestly. There's even an easy mode that can be turned on if you die too much or in the settings, and don't do that. Like, this game is too easy as is. Even kids shouldn't have a problem with Pacman World. Just keep the game where it is. I will give them partial credit on how collecting works in this game. On one hand, making the game remember everything you picked up after death is taking away challenge, but the game also remembers broken objects too. So if you needed an object to reach a collectible, for example, but you destroyed it, you just got to start the stage over because you could never reach this item. If you don't get 100% in one go, you have to also get everything again in your next run, so it doesn't remember things once the stage is beaten. This may not be much, but in its own little way, this is a way for the game to punish you without pissing you off completely. Plus, a few items are hidden so well that I actually just didn't see them at all. Like, there were a few times like this one C is behind this fire that stomped me for a while. I just didn't see it because it blends in so much. And there was one C floating in the sky. I don't know why the C's were always like missing me. Boss battles don't add much to the game's challenge, but they are all fun, and they even get a little bit creative with some of them. The pirate ship is a weird parry fight where you bounce his cannons back at him. You gotta get the timing right, or you could end up missing your chance to hit him, or get hit yourself. The space world pays homage to Galaxian, which turns Pacman into a competent shoot 'em up. The ruin boss was very confusing to me. I saw the rail pads and I thought I was making some type of change, but nothing was different every time I tried to get on them. I realized what you're supposed to do is keep running on the pads until the symbols at the bottom lose color. I didn't even notice there were color symbols at the bottom of these pads. You gotta do them all until he opens up for you to throw a power pellet at the glowing orb between his arms. Repeat this while the stage throws more hazards at you and then you'll win. Once I figured it out, it was fun, but they could have done a better job at showing you the change when you were revving up the pads. In the factory, you face off a giant robot while running across conveyor belts moving in different directions. This is more like a waiting game because what you're supposed to do is wait until you get the metal power up, then run up on them and throw a power pellet at them. I will say that this boss has the most phases, and it is a fun fight, especially when the magnet sucks you up when you have your metal power, but overall, it's pretty simple once you know what to do. Now, the Funhouse boss fight is the weirdest boss fight you'll ever hear in any platformer game, because it's not a normal boss fight. It's a freaking kart racer. You race ghosts around a track like a traditional kart racer, and funny enough, I had more fun with this than Mario Kart World, which is crazy to say. Please don't kill me, Nintendo fans, but it's actually kind of funny I'm playing the game now because Pacman will be joining Sonic in Cross Worlds this year. What this boss fight, if you can even call it that, taught me is that we need more things like this in games, like these one-off moments. Like Astro Bot had a lot of them with the homages that they paid to Sony franchises, but we need more games that do this. Give us fun, well-made diversions that are blended into the main campaign as one-off moments that we'll remember forever, because I'm going to remember that Pacman World had a freaking kart racer for a boss fight. The final boss, TOC-MAN. I don't really like that name. It's the hardest of them all. He has a total of 3 phases, and this is the hardest boss fight yet. Phase 1, you need to wait until he fires at you, and then when you get close enough, slam on his head. Don't get too greedy as he can quickly turn the tables on you. The railroad is actually useful here because trying to walk away from his flying attack is a little too slow, and the railroad will get you out of dodge every time. In the second phase, he'll slam on the ground and send shockwaves all around you, but you need to use the metal power-up in order to do damage. He turns giant on his last phase. You need to railroad into his feet until he comes falling down. Once he's down, quickly climb up his arm because he will get up pretty fast, and then stomp on his head. Now, throughout this fight, if you did save your friends, they'll heal you. Now, if you didn't, you had to beat the whole boss fight with 1 health bar and no heals. It's revealed that TOC-MAN was just a ghost who wanted to be a hero like Pac-Man. Now, what were you expecting, Shakespeare? The game ends with everyone celebrating Pacman's birthday, but there is another ending where Pacman just kills TOC-MAN like a psychopath. Pacman World is a great game, and yeah, it has its fair share of issues, but there's nothing here that's so bad that ruins your experience. If you want a fun, fair platformer with a respectable runtime, bonus activities like new mazes and the original arcade game, you can't go wrong with it. Especially when this game is often on sale as low as $10 physically and $5 digitally. Pacman World was meant to be a celebration of the franchise, and I may be late to the party, but I'm glad I attended. Now it's time for a second adventure in Pacman World 2.